Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Year of Lupin right here on planet Tyro, and we're continuing the Lupin retrospective, Lupin the Third, and we're so close to the finish line after over a year of countless Lupin videos, guys. We're right near the end. Last time, if you missed it, we actually spoke about the very painful Lupin the Third Pink Jacket series that I got through. If you want to check out that discussion and find out why I detested it so much, click on the I button on the right of the screen, top right hand corner, click on that button, it'll go back there. For all you newcomers coming in late, this is a Lupin retrospective we've been doing for quite a while. We've got a playlist with nearly 50 Lupin videos for all the previous TV specials and movies, and now we're moving on to the current TV series as of 2017, which at this point in time is 2015's Lupin the Third Part 4 Blue Jacket, also called The Italian Adventure. As it may be obvious, it's called Italian Adventure because this Lupin the Third series is set in Italy. Now, when it was originally airing in Japan in 2015, it aired with 24 episodes, but some of the home releases, I think all of the home releases now, have 2 extra specials, which has got to do with Lupin and the new female character. They're kind of superficial, but we'll talk about that later as well. So now, it's a 26 episode series when you get it in home release. So we're going to start talking about the story very briefly, then I'm going to dig into the characters and such. So when this series starts with episode 1, Lupin the Third is actually getting married, which is an interesting twist. He's getting married to a young lady named Rebecca. The whole team are watching him getting married. Zinagata bursts in, and there's obviously something going on. And basically, Lupin is working an angle, which I won't get into too much spoilers in right now. But what I will say is, to Lupin's surprise, his bride-to-be, his new Mrs. Lupin, turns out to be a thrill-seeking thief, just like him, and there's something going on with her as well. And the major plot has got to do with the MI6 and some manipulation machine and clones and bringing someone back from the dead. And apart from all that stuff, we've actually got a lot of episodic episodes which aren't related to the main narrative of the MI6 and these clone stuff and all that other stuff. So that's generally the story, what the story involves in detail. But before I dig into that, let's talk about some of the other aspects. And you know what? Why don't we start with the animation? Now, in all my recent reviews for all the modern Lupin stuff that was made after 2010, I've always said the main thing that holds Lupin back is the animation. It was made in the 60s, 70s, and the animation wasn't good back then. But as we get into the 2000s, even the late 90s, the animation looks good and it complements Lupin. It elevates the entertainment. It makes it even more better. So when we get to this series, it looks gorgeous. The opening is great. You're in Italy. All the detail, all the scenes, it looks vibrant. It looks gorgeous. The action scenes look spectacular. It honestly, animation really elevates the adventure and the fun that Lupin the Third has to bring. Now, in saying that, this isn't the best animation I've seen in the Lupin series. I'm still going to give that over to the series that came before this, which was the prequel, the re-origin, the woman named Fujiko Minhei. Now that had a lot more style. It was a bit more experimental, and I'm not gonna lie, that series had a lot more nudity. It was a lot more crude, a lot more raw, and I thought that plays to the sexy theme, the adult themes that Lupin has. This series is a lot more PG. There is some blood, there's some murder, but it's kind of toned down. There definitely isn't as much T and A as there was in the previous series, the Fujiko Minhei series, but it looks gorgeous. It's fine. I'm not going to give anything away from that. And as I said before, great animation complements Lupin the Third, and Italy looks great animated in 2015. Moving on to the sound. Now, this is something I was actually a little bit disappointed with, not because it was bad. The sound was it was good. But the problem is, if you go back to all the other Lupin the Third series, as part 1, part 2, and even part 3 that I really didn't like, they always bring something new to the sound category. Part 2 brought, so many good themes. The first one brought the classic theme, and even part 3 had a theme I loved. Now this one, it uses all the classic Lupin themes, but just puts a little bit of an Italian twist to it. Even the opening, it's pretty much the same. It's just tweaked a little bit. And to be honest with you, the reason why that bothered me is I wanted them to really infuse more Italian music into the themes, or do a lot of heavy remixes. Throughout the years, when Lupin III deals with music and Yuji Ono gets on the soundtrack, she usually makes remixes of the era, whether it's the 80s, the 70s, or the 90s. You can Google so much different Lupin themes. This time, I was wondering what they were going to do with the Italian music theme mixed with the Lupin theme, and it's very, very understated, very, very underplayed. I didn't really notice it. The only one musical theme I noticed in particular is in the second special, which I think on the home release, episode 21, I'll put something on the screen. They had a song, which I tried to find the name of. They had this particular Japanese song. It stood out. It was nice. But apart from that, I was actually disappointed. The opening theme, again, it wasn't that much different. The ending theme actually was pretty good, actually. That one I should commend as well, with the little jazz singer, deep, deep, deep. That was good. So actually, I'll take that back. They had that song in the special. But when I was watching the series, I wasn't hearing a lot of themes that really drew me out. All I heard was little twists on the themes we already know. Fujiko would come, and then you'll get the Fujiko Mine classic love theme, and they just put a little twang on it. But I was expecting to hear more Italiano from my Lupin III. And Yuji Ono, I mean, as well as the animation, Lupin III is known for his music, and I was disappointed with just not bringing a lot of new or creative or remix themes when it was just understated. It was fine, don't get me wrong, but it's something I looked forward to. I was looking forward to see what they were doing with the music. And this series in particular, it was just kind of like passable. They didn't do much. They kept it understated. Now, I know some people would say, you know, they don't want to blow out the series by having this, you know, overbearing new music. But for me, it's a bit of a missed opportunity. But it was fine. It was serviceable. But I was just expecting something more. You always expect something great from the Lupin music theme from Yuji Ono. But this time, it was just, you know, it was just standard, in my opinion. But, you know, just my opinion. As for the voice actors, at the time I'm doing this recording, there is an English dub that's about to be released in a couple of weeks. I only saw a trailer and it sounds good. I always say Lupin the Third's better in English dub. But the Japanese cast were very good. I didn't have a problem with anybody at all. You know, it's all the same team, the new Japanese team, you know, Yasuo Yamada, all that stuff. I've commented about them on and on and on. Japanese was fine. Didn't have a problem watching it in sub, and that was great. Along with the music, which was standard, it was a great package. So I am really looking forward to the dub though, because I think, again, Lupin the Third in English dub is just a better experience in my personal opinion as a Westerner. So moving on to the characters. To be honest with you, the Lupin gang, you know, Lupin, Jigen, Goemon, Fujiko, they're pretty much the same. I don't really want to spend too much time commenting on them. They're good. No major changes there. Zenigata is kind of an afterthought, to be honest with you. I know that's his role. He's just an idiot over afterthought. But sometimes I just wish he was a bit smarter. But to be honest with you, he had a lot more screen time than he did in the last two, you know, in part 2 and part 3. So he was good. And to be honest with you, he had a fantastic episode with Lupin called The End of Lupin the Third. I'm going to get back to that because that episode was great. Other than that, the new characters I want to focus on, I think in particular, I want to focus on the new girl called Rebecca, who marries Lupin in the beginning and then turns out to be some thrill-seeking thief. Now, when the series started, I had high hopes for her. First, I thought they were just going to use her. Then when I found out that she actually's got some, you know, thievery skills and she's kind of in competition with Lupin, I thought this could be an interesting twist. But as the series went on, she just became kind of a brat, kind of a spoilt teenager with a butler, and I didn't really care for her. And then as the series goes on, when you find out she's got a little bit of a backstory, of course, and yeah, she was just a child. By the end of it, I didn't see her as a good foil to Fujiko or another competitor to Lupin's heart. Lupin just started to treat her a bit like a little bit of a young girl that's just he's not really that interested in. But so to me, as a character, she kind of disappointed me. The one standout character to me in this series is actually kind of a side character and kind of an antagonist. It's this guy called Nix, if I'm saying his name right. Nix is someone that's kind of working for the MI6 and some other secret service. And he seems to be like an enhanced human. He's got these weird super hearing abilities, and he seems to kind of muscle up as well. He's got a Knight Rider car, and he's got a family. So there's a lot of things they put into this character, and he becomes a bigger part of the plot. But he's not that interesting, but he's really cool. He has a couple of good fights with Lupin, and to be honest with you, he stands out a lot. The other characters that aren't really worth mentioning is the MI6 Corporation, and then we've got the big bad who's revealed, the last boss, which I'll get to when I get back to the story, I guess, which, to be honest with you, I might as well get to now. The overall story with this, the reason why I was disappointed with it is because it's 26 episodes, and with this series, just like the Fujiko Mine TV series, they decide they want to go with a narrative. They just don't want to be episodic, like part 1, 2, and 3 were 99% episodic. This series has a storyline. Again, Lupin marries this girl, Rebecca. There's this thing going on with this secret weapon that's got to do with manipulation. MI6 are doing these experiments on people, and in particular, they're cloning one person who turns out to be the big bad. And you know what? Here's the thing. That story is meh. I mean, the actual narrative story is meh. But this is a 26 episode anime, and the story, that narrative, the main narrative story I'm talking about, is only 8 episodes of the 26. The rest, the other 18 episodes are episodic. And I'm not saying, believe me, it's not like it's episodic and then the last 8 are just a storyline. No, it's all mixed as usual. Lupin likes to mix it up again. And those episodic episodes, they weren't great. Some of them were really trivial and really just silly. And I know it was set in Italy, so it's a different scene for these different things. But to be honest with you, it was episodic, more of the same Lupin. And if you've seen the first series, the second series, the third series, there's nothing in these episodic episodes that are going to blow you away. Except for the one episode, which I'm going to get to now, which is called The End of Lupin the Third, which is a focused episode on Lupin the Third and Zenigata. Lupin gives up. He finally gives himself over to Zenigata. We see Lupin in jail for a lot. You know, this is, I don't want to ruin it. This episode is not only the best episode in the whole series, in this whole Blue Jacket series, it's one of the best episodes of Lupin the Third because it gives you something you've always wanted to see. Zenigata finally capturing Lupin, and, you know, Lupin growing. Oh, it's a great episode. This episode stands out, period. I think it's episode 13. It might be episode 12, depending on whether you got the 24 episode box set or the 26 episode. But either way, the episode's called The End of Lupin the 13. It's the best episode that's not part of the Italian adventure narrative. And apart from that, you've got episodes that's got to deal with a circus boy. There's even an episode where Lupin has to steal a vintage car. And, you know, all joking aside, there's an episode where Lupin and the gang got to find a woman's lost dog. And look, man, I mean, Lupin is meant to be laid back. It's not meant to be fun. And, you know, you're meant to inject it. But again, I would just prefer if this was fully episodic, better quality episodic episodes, or stick to the narrative and make it 13 episodes, because honestly, the mix of the two just made this very inconsistent, very lopsided, and to be honest with you, the whole series on the whole is very, very average, honestly. And, you know, I'm going to spoil it and give my rating now. On the whole, this series is just average, and I want to talk about the ending with the big bad, and again, I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler warning. This whole thing about resurrecting this very historical figure that Lupin has to go up against is very, very Lupin the Third. It's very, very silly. It's very, very fictional. And it reminds me of a movie TV special. But him as an antagonist, the final antagonist, it's just meh, to be honest with you. And the climax of the last 2 episodes and his mind manipulation machine, it's meh. It really, really is. And I kind of expected more. It was fine, I guess, but I was kind of bored, and it was more of the same. But if you've seen all the previous Lupin the Third series, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. You're going to love the animation. You're in Italy, which is beautiful, and the action scenes look good. But if you've seen hundreds of episodes of Lupin like I have, you're not going to be blown away. And I know this is people are just happy to have Lupin the Third back and see the beautiful animation. But again, I feel like if you're going to do the same stuff, if you're going to have the same kind of things, improve upon it, make it better, learn from your mistakes. And to be honest with you, most of these episodes, I thought I just saw them before. And the main plot, again, we've seen it before. It's just in a different setting with new, prettier colors. And if you putting this up against the series, The Woman Named Fujiko Mine, I hate to say it, but that series is better than this one because there's a lot more character stuff. There isn't a lot of character stuff here at all. It's pretty much episodic with one episode, eight episode mini narrative that is somewhat interesting, but it's just silly fun. So what I will say is, looking at the fan feedback, looking at what the fans said about the series, they miss Lupin. They love seeing it again. They love the adventure. And for a lot of people, this was the first Lupin the Third series they've seen. So if you've never seen Lupin the Third before, is this a good series to watch? In that regard, it's fine. It's perfectly serviceable. You'll get a good taste for Lupin the Third, and it's pretty okay. To be honest with you, I still think The Woman Named Fujiko Mine is superior in almost every way, but this doesn't mean this is a bad series. Mostly, my main criticism is I just wish it was either another episodic series with Lupin having adventures in Italy, which is a true Italian adventure, or they made the narrative where they stuck to this idea with the MI6 and bringing this guy back from the dead. But even that story, the actual narrative story, it's still not strong enough to really stand out. So if it was just that, I don't know if it would have been better. But to me, this series could have been better. I felt like it was just the creators were playing to the typical Lupin things, which is fine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, the old fans, especially someone like me who's watched all the Lupin stuff, I want something more new to the table. And it's just more of the same. Not terrible, but just more of the same. And to be honest with you, the ending and the last guy, not really mind-blowing. So once again, as I always do, guys, I have my episodes that I pick, that I say, if you only want to watch the best, watch these episodes. And again, if you're on YouTube, I'll put it on the screen. If you're not, and you're listening on the podcast, I'm going to read out the episodes. And I'm just going to tell you now, out of the 26, for me, there was 8 episodes, which again are the core narrative episodes, and that great episode, The End of Lupin the Third. So with that said, my episodes are episode number 1, of course. Then episodes number 11, 12, and 13, 11 to 13 straight. Then episode 18, episode 23, and episode 24. The 2 specials, to be honest with you, I don't include them at all. And when we get to the next Lupin the Third video, they reuse those specials for something else, which is very, very lazy. But we'll get to that later. So again, this is becoming a consistent thing that whenever I finish the Lupin series, I find that I only truly enjoy about 15% of it. And the other 85% is repetitive and lackluster. But again, I'm an elitist, I'm a purist, I want the best of the best, and with hours and hours and hours of Lupin content, I don't really think you should sit there and watch it all. I think you should just pick out the best, and even if you pick out the best, you've got a lot of Lupin content, and that's what I'm doing with the series. So Italian Adventure, it's okay, it's watchable, it's passable. I wish it was better, but it's perfectly fine. I would have enjoyed it more in English dub, but it's fine. So that's pretty much it. I gave it, it's just okay. That's my rating. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think I'm being harsh? Do you think this was a great return to form? And again, guys, put your love for the animation to the side. Think about the story. Think about the characters, because anime looks gorgeous now. Most anime look gorgeous. So try to put that aside, even though most of Lupin is about the visuals and the sexiness and all the aesthetic things. There's so much Lupin out there now. We can be a little bit more picky, and that's what I'm trying to do with this retrospective. The best of the best. But anyway, guys, like I said, leave your comments down below. And the next video will make us caught up with the current Lupin the Third releases. And the next video is going to be the TV special, which is based on this series, which is called The Italian Game. To be honest with you, I could have just done these recordings at the same time, but I want to make a little rant about that special all on its own. So check that out. It's going to be out next week or whenever you're watching. So it will be in the playlist. So again, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget we've got the YouTube playlist with all the other Lupin the Third content. Click on the top right corner to go there. If you're on YouTube, you can see the annotations on the screen. You can click or tap on them to go back to all the other videos that YouTube are suggesting to you. And if you're just listening on the podcast without the visuals, thank you for listening. Look at the description for all the playlist links. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you back here on Planet Tyro for some more Lupin the Third content. Thanks for watching.